Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this meeting to order because we have a closed session. May I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Fox.
Here.
Councilmember Ballet La Pena is absent at this time. Mayor Pro Tem Price.
Here.
Mayor Adam.
And I'm here. We have no public comments, so if our Assistant City Attorney, Patrick Heher, would announce the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are two closed sessions. The conference with legal counsel for existing litigation. The case is Karen Montana et al. Versus City of Thousand Oaks. Case number 56-2011 00408-151-CU-WM-SIM. And this is done pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A. The second is a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivisions D and E3. The claimant is AVMGH5, the Ranch Limited Partnership, claim number 1274-2015. I anticipate I will have nothing further to report out on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Heher. We will adjourn until 6 o'clock. Yes, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. We do have two more closed session items to announce. Our Assistant City Attorney, Patrick Heher, will do that for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first one is a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9C. There are two cases. If the decision to initiate litigation is authorized, the authorization will be reflected in the council minutes or announced at public session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heher. We'll adjourn until 6 o'clock. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call the meeting of June 9th to order for the Thousand Oaks City Council, and I'm going to ask the scouts from Troop 754 to come down and help me say the Pledge of Allegiance. These boys are here this evening to observe the City Council in action. Right, boys? Come on over here.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Scouts. Now, if we could have the roll call, please.
Councilmember Fox.
Here.
Councilmember Bill De La Pena.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Price.
Here.
Mayor Adam.
I'm here. All right, thank you. And we did have a closed session. Our Assistant City Attorney, Heher, would like to make an announcement about that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 14 was moved to the beginning of the agenda. The closed session item was a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9C. There were 2 cases. The decision to initiate litigation was authorized in one of those cases. The specifics of the case will be subject to public disclosure once action has formally commenced, unless to do so would jeopardize our ability to effectuate service of process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Heher. I'm going to go to the podium now for special presentations. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to invite Mark Lawyer down to the podium with me. Mark is with Ventura Regional Sanitation District. He's the general manager. And here's Mark. Here he comes. Mark's going to give us an update on the district activities. Good evening, Mark.
Mr. Mayor.
It's all yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Mark Lawler, I'm the general manager for Ventura Regional Sanitation District, and every couple of years I get out to say hi to everybody and just let you know who we are. Some of you may or may not know who we are. What we do have is, I have a packet that we've passed around. I'm not going to go through this. It's just for your perusing and just to let your staff's familiar with us, and it's just pretty much to let you know we're here. But who we are a public agency. We're established in 1970 under the Health and Safety Code. But what's different about our district that's unique for a public agency is we have no tax base at our district. So everything we function, even though we're a public agency, we function just like a private sector business. We have to compete for work, and all of our work is based on our rates, and the only revenue stream that we get is from our services rendered and the rates we charge at our landfill. And so that's pretty much how our council or our board is made up. We have a 9-member board of directors. 8 of them are from the 10 cities in the county. The 2 that do not participate is Moore Park and Simi Valley. Currently, Councilmember Price is representing the city of Thousand Oaks on our board. And the 9th seat is represented by, it's on a rotating basis with some of the other special districts. There's 6 other special districts that participate, and they rotate their membership on our board. With that being said, again, you can look through this. Currently, the city's not utilizing very little of our services, but they are in here. A city of your size, typically, you're a full-service city. You have all your own services. You generally don't need us. Some things you might use us for specialty areas, sometimes on an emergency basis. The biggest asset that we have is the landfill. Our landfill is located up between the cities of Santa Paula and Fillmore, and we do receive about half the tonnage in the entire county at the Tolan Road landfill. So with that, that's pretty much us in a nutshell. We do provide a wide range of services, but again, your staff's fully aware of all the services we're providing you, and you have used us. You do use us periodically, but it comes and goes, and it just depends on where the city is and what your needs are. But we're always happy to help out, and so the board asks me to come out every once in a while and just make sure you kind of have a face to the district, and that's what I'm here for tonight. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and if not, nope.
I'll certainly let the other board members know that you actually showed up here. Thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you. All right, thank you. You have a nice evening. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you, Councilmember Price, for representing us on the Ventura Regional Sanitation District Board. Next, we have Kevin Wilson, our City Landscape Maintenance Supervisor here this evening. And we are very fortunate in this city to have community involvement. It's one of our strong suits, and community involvement has assisted in the beautification of our city that will last for years to come. And to honor these volunteers, tonight we're going to present them with the Oak Leaf Awards, which are awarded for excellence in volunteer community service and streetscape beautification. Kevin's going to tell us a little bit about those awards and who we are honoring this evening. Hi, Kevin.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Honored to be here tonight. Every year, the city's Public Works Department works with community volunteers to perform neighborhood enhancement projects throughout the city. The projects typically coincide with Arbor Earth Day and can include volunteers from as few as 1 to as many as several hundred. This year, the city was honored to work with nearly 300 community volunteers from the following organizations: St. Julie Billiart Catholic Church, the Islamic Center of Conejo Valley, Troop Real Estate, Westlake Village, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and Ojai resident Angelo Spadrino. Thanks to these organizations, project organizers, and volunteers, together we painted nearly 4,000 linear feet of safety rail fence along the Foxmore floodplain in Westlake, spread 25 cubic yards of wood chips in Thousand Oaks and Newbury Park, and planted 10 Chanticleer pear trees along Tuolumne Avenue, 17 24-inch box-sized strawberry trees along Kimber Drive, 32 24-inch box trees, strawberry trees along Gainsborough Road, and 50 valley oak tree seedlings grown and donated by Mr. Spadrino near the intersection of Hillcrest and Ventura Park Road. The volunteers' efforts not only promoted community involvement, but provided environmental awareness that have provided an immediate beautification and enhancement to the surrounding neighborhoods that will last for years to come. Tonight, the City of Thousand Oaks is honored to recognize the time and efforts all volunteers donated this year by presenting each organization with the city's Oak Leaf Award for excellence in volunteer community service and street beautification. At this time, I'd like to invite the following project organizers down to the podium. From Troop Real Estate, Westlake Village, Gail Coy and Brooke James.
Hi. Present this plaque to you. How about that?
From St. Julie Billiart Catholic Church, Daryl Hitt. Daryl, are you here tonight? Oh, it looks like, unfortunately, Daryl wasn't able to make it. From the Islamic Center of Conejo Valley, Gazella Kazi. Like Gazella wasn't able to make it either. That's unfortunate. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Craig Nielsen, Larry Bagby, and Paul Manwaring.
For our city, present this plaque. Why don't you? One more. Good. Thank you, gentlemen.
From the Newbury Park Stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Steve Simmons.
Let me see. Thank you for your much help in our city. Present it to you. Medal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last but not least, the gentleman who dedicated a year of his life germinating and growing valley oak tree seedlings for us, Mr. Angelo Spadrino.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great recommendation for the City of Thousand Oaks.
I want to hear about it.
Care to hear about it.
All right. Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I, members of City Council, and I promise you that we'll be here next year handing out more awards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I'll tell you, it's volunteers that really make this city work. And there's a statistic in America that about 50% of people volunteer at least once a week for a worthy cause, and I think here in Thousand Oaks that percentage is considerably higher. So thank you, volunteers, for helping to beautify our city. Next, we have we have Elaine Haagen, Vice President of Canay Open Space Foundation. Here she is. Hello, Elaine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to?
Yes, thank you. It's nice to be here again this year. Thank you, Mayor Adam and council members. The Conejo Open Space Trails Education Days is a field trip for CVUSD 5th grade students sponsored by COSCA, the Open Space Agency. In case you're not familiar with it, the students experience an intensive day of open space and environmental education in Wildwood Park. 16 elementary schools and 1,345 fifth grade students participated this year. And nearly 90 volunteers and staff put in about 1,000 hours preparing for, putting on, and doing follow-up for the program. And the Conejo Open Space Foundation is pleased to provide financial support. Also, we're very happy that we were chosen as beneficiaries for a Conejo Endowment Fund award, and we really appreciate that as well. The award helps pay for Trails Education Days. Anyway, we thank you and really appreciate your continued support through the past 24 years. Next year will be our 25th anniversary Trails Education Days program. It's amazing. Anyhow, after the program, the students are invited to participate in a letter writing contest. And this year we received 866 letters, and that's 2/3 of the student body who attended, which is a pretty good ratio given all the other requirements and everything that the students deal with. Every year, two winners are chosen from each of the participating schools, and then district-wide, 5 grand prize winners are chosen. And I'm happy to introduce these winners to you. Sadly, because of conflicts with scheduling, with illness, and probably with traffic, only 2 of the students were able to be here tonight. I'll let you know. First, Eric Berger of Westlake Hills was not able to attend. Sammy Edwards, also of Westlake Hills, and Corey Witt of Lang Ranch Elementary were not able to attend, and they all were really disappointed because they couldn't be here. But we do have 2 of the grand prize winners, and I'd like to ask each of them to come up to the podium. First is Max Wagner of Westlake Hills Elementary. And second, Tarani Udayakumar of Wildwood.
Let's have both together, right? Okay.
And can you hold up your certificates?
Hold your certificates up there.
Very good. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. 5 out of 866. These are pretty special kids who do some pretty darn good work. Sorry. Thank you. And I just wanted to say that the winning letters will be posted at the Conejo Open Space Foundation website, which is cosf.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elaine. Needless to say, open space is highly valued in the city of Thousand Oaks. It's great that you're able to teach the kids to appreciate it and to write about it as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, and now I'd like to have our Cultural Affairs Director, Barry McComb, join me at the podium.
Actually, I'm sitting off to your side.
Oh, there he is.
So I'm going to present from here tonight.
Barry is going to regale us with our performance review for the 2015-16 season, and I hear it's quite spectacular.
We have some great artists this year.
All right, Barry, go to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's hard to believe that it's already that time of year again for us to provide you with a sneak peek of some of the artists that are coming to the Civic Arts Plaza for our 2015-16 season. We're actually going to start tonight with our headline concert series, and since we've started bringing in more commercial artists, one of the challenges we have is that we are contractually precluded from announcing some of them until later in the year. So what you're going to see tonight is just a small selection of some of the artists that will be here. Most of these will be performing at the Civic Arts Plaza between now and December, but I will be back in September to announce some additional artists to our season, and also back again in next December to announce some artists that we have confirmed for the spring but that we can't announce to you yet. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Although this first artist is not part of our new season, he's actually ending our current season, and that's Hannibal Burr. Hannibal is a former writer of Saturday Night Live and now stars as a cast member of Broad City on Comedy Central. He's going to be performing here in the Sheer Forum. And over the last year and a half, we've actually started to build up a very significant comedy series here in our small theater. And many of the comedians that now perform here traditionally play larger venues. Hannibal actually recently sold out the Wiltern in Los Angeles, but coming to Thousand Oaks, he's going to play our small room. About 2 weeks ago, we had Janine Garofalo perform here, who also traditionally plays a larger room. But we've started to really build up a reputation of what a great comedy room this is, and you'll see that in the coming season, we're going to have a lot more comedians performing here. Hannibal, we actually confirmed last Friday, so this is a very last-minute booking. He's actually here June 20th, so it's 2 weeks' notice that he'll be here. He went on sale today, so if you're going to buy tickets, now's the time to do it. But moving into our new season, we're actually kicking off on August 7th with Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo. What you may not know is they live locally. They are actually celebrating their 35th anniversary touring, and this will be their very first time performing here at the Civic Arts Plaza. Following Pat is an evening with Chris Isaac. Chris is one of the perennial favorites of Thousand Oaks audiences. The last two engagements that he's performed here have been during the holiday with his holiday show. This is the first time that he'll be bringing his band for a summer play, so I'm sure he'll have lots of new surprises in his show. Talking of comedy, we have lots of comedy that's coming in our large theater as well. Brian Regan is no surprise to Thousand Oaks audiences. He's usually here about every couple of years. He's returning once again with his very unique observations of life's most mundane situations, and he'll be here on September 10th. Following Brian, we have the Beach Boys and their Made in America tour. Beach Boys have not played the Civic Arts Plaza in 15 years, so it's been long overdue to bring them back. They are currently on sale and selling very well, so we would say if you're a Beach Boys fan, it's better to purchase your tickets sooner rather than later. Ron White, much like Brian Regan, we see every couple of years. He's actually got an all-new stand-up show that he's bringing back called the Nutcracker Tour, and he'll be here on September 26th. Some of you may remember Ron Benesse as a local performer who played for free every chance he got around town. And since then, he's gone on to become a worldwide sensation with his Spanish flamenco style. He's had several very popular specials on PBS. And it's been about 3 or 4 years since he's played the Civic Arts Plaza. He's coming back with this new Strings of Passion tour, and he'll be here on October 2nd. This is probably one of our favorite bookings. Tim Minchin is probably a comedian that many of you don't know. He really has a background based in a lot of different arenas. If you're a fan of Broadway music, you might know the show Matilda, and Tim actually wrote the music for that. He incorporates a lot of musical comedy in his shows. He was also on a hit series on Showtime. He's seen frequently on shows like David Letterman, now Jimmy Kimmel. He's also an artist that typically would be playing a large theater, but he's actually going to be in Los Angeles filming a movie for DreamWorks this fall, wanted to play a small room, and selected us as that location, so we're very excited to have him. Also following up as part of our Sheer Comedy series is Wendy Liebman. Wendy's had a long, very successful career. Most recently, she was a finalist on America's Got Talent, but she's had specials on HBO and Showtime and been on every late-night talk show that you can think of. If you joined us for our free 20th anniversary concert last September, Wendy was one of the performers that did a short set at that concert. Afterwards, we had a lot of people come up to us and really encourage us to bring her back with her full show. So she'll be here on November 14th. For Thanksgiving weekend, we're bringing Under the Street Lamp. Under the Street Lamp is probably kind of a cross between the tenors that we had last Thanksgiving weekend and Straight No Chaser and the Midtown Men who were here last spring. They have their roots in Broadway. Several of the members were in the cast of the Frankie Valli show that was on Broadway. They have PBS specials, and we'll have them again on Saturday, November 28th. Mythbusters is a show many of you might remember from the Discovery Channel. It's a series where Adam Savage and Jamie Hyman use elements of science to test the validity of rumors, myths, movie scenes, and news stories. This is actually Jamie's farewell tour. It's been a number of years since they've been here, and we're going to be one of the final stops that they have. They'll be here on Sunday, December 6th. An artist I think everybody will be happy to see coming is Jay Leno. This will be the first time that Jay's ever performed at the Civic Arts Plaza. He's probably one of America's favorite comedians, and he'll be here the Sunday after Christmas. And then we're bringing back a New Year's Eve show this year with Cherry Poppin' Daddies, plus a number of special guests who will be performing with them. If you are a fan of Big Bad Voodoo Daddy or Royal Crown Revue, we had Big Bad Voodoo Daddy a couple of years ago. That was a huge hit. They're cut from the same mode. We actually saw them perform back in New York earlier this year. We anticipate they'll probably do a special salute to Frank Sinatra as part of their engagement this year, but it guarantees for a very big evening. So this is a little bit of a sampling of what's coming up in our headline series. Again, we'll be making other announcements for artists that will be playing in the fall as well as into the spring. So I would suggest that you visit our website and keep up to speed on additions as they're announced. Moving on to our resident companies, Cabrillo Music Theater has a great season next year. They'll be kicking off with Damn Yankees during the World Series time in October. They're going to produce A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum right here in the Sheer Forum, so that's probably appropriate. Children of Eden is a newer show based on Adam and Eve, more contemporary. And then they'll be finishing up their season with Disney's Little Mermaid. If it's anything like their Mary Poppins production was this year, it's definitely going to be a not-to-miss production. Then we move on to New West Symphony. They have a number of great guest artists this year, too, that I would point out is obviously the return of our locally grown Andrew Jans, who's now a in-demand international performer. And then their final concert of the season features Stuart Copeland, who you would not typically expect to perform with the symphony orchestra. Many of you will know him as the drummer for the band The Police. So that should be a very interesting performance. Pacific Festival Ballet has 3 productions next season. This summer they'll be bringing a production of The Wizard of Oz with their young dancers here in the Sheer Forum in August. Their annual Nutcracker takes place December 19th to 20th. They like to say it's the only Nutcracker with a guaranteed chance of snow on the audience. If you've attended, then you'll know what we mean by that. And then their storybook ballet next spring on May 21st is Peter Pan. Moving on to our signature series. The first is our Distinguished Speaker Series. I think they have a great lineup of international political leaders, entertainment icons such as John Cleese, Martha Stewart. But the one I think that will be probably the most interesting, that most people won't know who he is, and that's Platon, who will be here in February. He's actually a world-renowned photographer who specializes in shooting world leaders in a very unique fashion. And part of what he'll be doing is showing those pictures, but also sharing the background of his experiences working with each of those world leaders. And then finally is our professional Broadway series. Jersey Boys will finally be coming to Thousand Oaks for the first time. We've waited a long time, so they'll be here in February. Other productions are a great holiday show, Elf, and then a Frank Sinatra salute with the Rat Pack Christmas, Flashdance in January, and then finishing their season with Ragtime. Many of these shows are currently on sale, but the majority will go on sale on June 20th. And if you watch your mailbox next week, our season brochure should be arriving. And if you don't get one at home, you can pick one up here at the theater. Also, again, we would encourage you to stay connected to find out new shows as they're added to our schedule, either through our website page, by signing up for our Facebook account, or following us on Twitter. And we look forward to seeing you at the theater. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McComb. Another great season on tap. They just keep getting better and better. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to public comments. If you would announce those, please, for me. Ms. Lawrence?
This is the time and place for public comments. A speaker card is available for those wishing to address the City Council regarding items on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers for public hearing items shall be called and heard during the public hearing. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole, and all documents for City Council and the official record should be presented to the city clerk prior to speaking. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Under state law, public comment matters may not be considered by the council unless listed on the agenda, but may be referred to the city manager for administrative follow-up. 8 people have presented cards, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. I'm going to announce the names now. First up is our library director, Nancy Schramm, along with Margaret Douglas, I do believe, followed by Jackson Piper. Evening, Nancy.
Good evening, Mayor Adam, members of the City Council, city staff. This evening, I am so pleased to announce our 2015 Thousand Oaks Reads One City, One Book selection. Christina Enrique's novel, The Book of Unknown Americans, tells the story of the Rivera family who leave their happy lives in Mexico behind and come to the United States, armed with only their visas and the belief that their beloved damaged daughter will have the resources and opportunities she needs. Each year, our Thousand Oaks Library One City, One Book Committee works hard to find the book that fulfills our requirements. Our standards include high literary quality, universal themes that appeal to a wide range of readers, available in multiple formats such as books that are in audio and paperback, a discussable book that is likely to spark provocative discussions, and a book that lends itself to creative programming related to the book, and author availability and willingness to participate in the author event. And librarian Margaret Douglas is here to tell us a bit more about our 2015 title.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Each autumn, the library staff and community volunteers organize and present the month-long Thousand Oaks Reads One City, One Book program. And every year, our momentum keeps growing as library patrons anticipate, attend, and participate in lively discussions of our selected One City title. 2015 marks the Thousand Oaks Library's 9th citywide reading program, and over the years we've brought meaningful literature to thousands of readers in our community. This year we expect nothing less. We'll stock our library shelves with a generous supply of their chosen book. We'll work with dozens of local book clubs and fill our calendar with an energetic and imaginative series of programs, including speakers, musicians and concerts, film and art events, book discussions, and workshops. It's an amazing lineup that will enhance the experience of reading her book and bringing our community closer together. The Book of Unknown Americans is a story of big dreams, and woven into one family's compelling story are the testimonials of men and women who've come to America from all over Latin America, Mexico, but also Colombia, Panama, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, and more. This fall, we hope that you'll read our book, come to a book discussion meeting, join us for a concert or a film, and connect with your community. We can't wait to welcome you because when we open a book together, we close it in greater harmony. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you for that information. Next up, we have Jackson Piper, followed by Linda Hillman. Hello, Jackson.
Hello. Thank you, members of the council, for having me here today. I am a resident of the Ventura Park area of unincorporated Ventura County, just outside of Thousand Oaks. I've always considered myself a TO city resident de facto. I'm here to represent the Conejo Valley Citizens for Community Choice Energy to request the council's support in the effort to bring community choice energy to this region by supporting a study to see if the community choice energy will benefit the city of Thousand Oaks and the other involved communities in Ventura County and Santa Barbara counties. Community choice energy has proven successful in both Sonoma and Marin counties up north, and the city of Lancaster has just started operating its own program whereby they bypass the utilities in deciding where their energy comes from. This allows them to deliver potentially greater amounts of sustainable energy to customers and also to potentially provide greater savings to customers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piper. Linda Hillman, followed by John Brisson.
Some handouts.
Hello, Linda.
Good evening, Mayor Adam and members of the City Council. I'm a resident of Camarillo, your neighbor just over the grade, and I'm speaking on behalf of Ventura County Businesses and Citizens for Community Choice, a group 90 strong and growing. My purpose tonight is to encourage Thousand Oaks to join a community choice energy regional feasibility study should Santa Barbara County decide tomorrow to fund one. Tomorrow, Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors will be hearing that budget request and have asked to know whether the cities and other counties in the region are interested in participating, and if so, whether they would consider contributing to costs. Two community choice energy entities currently operating in California, Marin Clean Energy and Sonoma Clean Power, tell us they repaid such costs after they began operations. Thus far, the City of Santa Barbara has voted to contribute $50,000 to the feasibility study, and City of Carpinteria voted to send her a letter of interest and to consider contributing funds. Community choice energy can result in lower electricity bills while increasing access to renewable energy, can stimulate a local economy and add jobs. And this is because such entities are able to fund local energy generating projects. An example is Marin's San Rafael Airport solar project that provided both jobs and locally generated solar power to the community. The way it works is that governing bodies of cities or counties vote to establish a community choice entity. Marin and Sonoma each chose to establish a joint powers authority. The Joint Powers Authority purchases the power. The local utility continues to provide energy distribution, grid management, and billing services. Customers can opt out and remain served by the local utility, but they can also stay in the Joint Powers Authority and have their local power purchased by the local Joint Powers Authority, with the local utility still distributing the power and managing the grid and providing billing services. Both Marin and Sonoma have reported being able to serve their customers with lower rates than the local utility, while also offering greater access to renewable energy. And it has worked so well that other cities and counties have joined their joint powers authorities. 5 have joined Marin, and 8 have joined Sonoma. I hope that Santa Barbara County receives enough encouragement from cities and other counties in our region to move forward with the feasibility study. And I also hope that when your city council has a chance to consider community choice energy, you will want to participate in a regional feasibility study. We all stand to gain so much from community choice energy, and we'll be able to do so much sooner if we can coordinate our efforts. And the materials I provided you have a heads up on 4 new feasibility studies in the state that are progressing. 3 in Northern California, and then Los Angeles will be funding a feasibility study for the South Bay counties, or cities.
Thank you, Linda. John Brisson, who is from the Office of Assemblymember Jackie Irwin, followed by Helen Cox. Hello, John.
Hello, my name is John Bryson, and I'm a longtime Thousand Oaks resident. I wanted to thank the council members, Mr. Mayor, and staff for this opportunity. As we all know, we're in a historic drought, and we've seen the governor take emergency actions earlier this year to address it. But not all solutions in this drought are going to come from Sacramento. A lot of them are going to be right here in our community. I'm here tonight to talk about Defeat the Drought. Saturday, June 27th, Assemblymember Jackie Irwin is co-sponsoring, along with the City of Thousand Oaks, a water conservation expo aimed at helping us all conserve. There is going to be activities for children with interactive and educational presentations. We're going to have a panel, question and answer panel with water experts. Here at the Civic Arts Plaza, out in the courtyard, we're going to have vendors tabling, more efficient fixtures, nurseries, landscapers. We're going to have workshops going on up in the conference rooms of the plaza. Those are going to be on things like biochar, which of course the city has done some terrific things with, gray water uses, how to get tax incentives, and not only what to do, but how to go about getting those tax incentives and breaks for barrels for your rainwater and laundry to lawn. We're very excited about this event. Wendy the Water Drop is going to be there. I buried the lead. We're going to have information and education as how to save water and save money. When it comes to water, we really are all in this together, and the City of Thousand Oaks has done some amazing things, and I'm very proud of my city. This is a chance to see what the city is doing and what we can all do individually to contribute to this and help secure our water security for the future. So Saturday, June 27th from 10 to 2 at the Civic Arts Plaza. We hope to see you there, and we would very much like for you to come out and just to hear what's going on. There's a rising consciousness about the drought and how serious it is, and I think this is an opportunity for all of us to really get involved. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bryson. Helen Cox, followed by Jamal Moore. Hello, Helen.
Hello. Thank you for hearing me speak this evening, Mayor Adam and City Council. My name is Helen Cox. I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks. I'm also a professor in sustainability at Cal State Northridge. And I'm here tonight to encourage the council to take part in the community choice energy feasibility study that a group of organizations in the county and various cities are trying to put together through a joint effort. So the idea of community choice energy is that basically communities get together and propose an alternative energy supply to that supplied by our local provider here, which is Southern California Edison. We would maintain the energy infrastructure that company provides to us, but we could replace the energy supply with local renewable energy distributed over the county. So solar energy, wind energy, or other forms of energy that we feel are good alternatives. What this does is provide business opportunities locally for solar installers, for businesses who want to feed into that program. It allows anybody to generate power locally and feed into the grid. And that way we can clean up our energy supply. Now, I was a part of the visioning process that the city put together. It was a wonderful effort, tremendous effort, that I really appreciate the city getting all of its community members involved in. One of the top priorities out of that came out was the desire of the residents of this community to develop a climate action plan, or have the city look at climate action planning for the future. Doing a study such as this, such as the looking at energy alternatives, would be a great step forward that the City Council could take, and would support that will of the people to start looking at alternatives for our energy supply. Besides the business opportunities that it presents to the local residents, it also presents alternatives for residents who can't install solar on their own houses, for example, if they're not single-family occupants and they live in multifamily dwellings, and also for businesses, as I mentioned. Our rates here from Southern California Edison, if you're in Tier 3 or 4, basically you're paying rates that are double what LADWP charges per kilowatt hour once you get into the higher tiers. And certainly we would be able to reduce those rates considerably for those people, and with clean renewable energy. So I'd just like to encourage the City Council to consider this and become part of a larger community group to examine the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Jamal Moore, followed by Nick Gidwai.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Guess when? Today. Greetings to all. The penny is the head, not the tail. I am symbolic of the female Job and Moses in the Bible. My son being thy rod and thy staff. I am the mother, caregiver, doctor, lawyer to my son. His Ann Sullivan. My adult son, Jamal, who has a rare neurological condition in which figuratively he should be in a wheelchair, diapers, and drooling, in which actress Julianne Moore is the national spokesperson of the condition, this rare condition called tuberous sclerosis. I am a service-connected Army veteran in which I served my country before my son was born. My son and I have appeared in Jet magazine in March 2007 and March 7 of 2007, in which Louis Farrakhan appeared on the front cover, as well as our current President Obama, Michelle, Oprah, as well as many other celebrity figures, based on worldly definitions. Michael Jackson, who was called a freak, who belonged in a circus. My son is no one's pimp. He's no pimp, okay? We are TO residents, and we have experienced some serious subtle racism, harassment, and discrimination under the guise of the real and true criminals in disguise. Hello? I represent the people. St. Pasquale Catholic Church, Christine, knows who we are. The sheriffs were called over there. Today, the sheriffs were called to the Thousand Oaks Mall. For biased reasons, you can talk to security over there. Okay, I've sent emails to many. Mike Hauser. Hello, Scott. Where are you? Andrew Fox, hi. City managers, the people. Here we are, okay? Sweater with the TO Alliance for the Arts, Cam. We've offered our services. My son has a rare gift here of blowing extraordinary bubbles, don't you, Jamal? And he wants to share his gift to the area here. I am symbolic of womb and not donkey. We don't stink. I'm nobody's gorilla, and we're nobody's Ann, okay? We said a pledge of allegiance to the flag. We put our hands in our hearts. Do we really mean it? This needs to stop immediately. Jill from the CO Westlake Chamber of Commerce, medicine person. The sheriff's was called because my son is swinging on a swing over here in the lakes. He enjoys swinging on the swing. This needs to stop. People can't see that if a man is on a swing, based on worldly definitions, there's something wrong. May God bless America.
Thank you very much.
This needs to stop. Bye-bye.
Nick Kidwai, followed by Ron Whitehurst.
I begin in the name of God, who is most beneficial, most merciful. My name is Nick Iqbal Kidwai, still Director Concerned Citizens of Thousand Oaks. And Mayor, if you want to empty this chamber quickly, just ask me to sing. I'm not kidding. I would like to welcome the Honorable Pastor Rob McCoy, who is in our presence, and thank him for the great campaign that he ran. What a breath of fresh air this wonderful man of God brings. I got this tie in 2006 in San Francisco liberal area for about $16. I thought it was overpriced, that I will use it for 2 or 3 meetings. And I still use it because it stands for a council that does not listen to its residents, lets them go out when they come, they have a problem, even if they might be extreme, does not get the residents involved, and has an un-American sign ordinance that you should be ashamed of, all of you. I had some tussle with Mr. Price 2 years ago when he ran, because the way to get signatures for your signage from businesses is just not enforceable. And there are no fines or teeth to the ordinance. And it's un-American. If I put 2 of Rob's signs in front of my home, I'm in violation of the ordinance. I mean, it's a disgrace to that beautiful flag that we have. I mean, some immigrants were here already, kids over here. Some scouts were here. I mean, this is the kind of democracy that we're trying to push. I mean, it's shameful. I'm glad that the city clerk spent some time and money promoting the election, but why not give those candidates 100 megabytes or gigabyte on the website? I'm not for charity, but the thing is, people want to know about the candidates. They don't want slick flyers that cost $15,000, $20,000. If TOTV can show that this is from TOTV, doesn't show well. I showed this before, and there's no technology involved anymore in this council. I mean, Rob has promised, and I have full faith that he will do some things. I just took a picture of Rob, gone. Rob with Ms. De La Pina and Joel, and tweeted it and sent it out. I mean, the photographer from the city that is over here, why can't he do that? I mean, there are so many opportunities to use technology to get people involved. And I make a promise that if Rob lets me down, I will retire, because I've given up. I mean, he's the last hope for Thousand Oaks, and I'm serious about that. And I hope everybody will cooperate with him and give him a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Kidwai. Ron Whitehurst, followed by Jan Dietrich. Hi, Ron.
Hello, my name's Ron Whitehurst. My wife and I run a small business in Ventura, and we have been trying to lighten our carbon footprint. We are about 95% off of fossil fuel for heating our facility, and about 20% on electric from photovoltaic. But there's some barriers. We don't have the ability to completely cover our buildings, about 10,000 square feet of buildings with solar panels and connect to the grid. We are restricted to a limit of just 80% of what we use. So I would like to propose that you consider the community choice energy, which will have a local panel, a local group, Every city council will have a representative on the council, and so you have direct access to decisions. Just this morning at the Ventura County Council, Linda Parks was talking about a workshop that they had on earthquake preparedness. We're living on the ring of fire, and there could be a major earthquake at any time. And so to the extent that we have local supplies of electricity, then that will give us a number of benefits as far as resiliency. During the Enron crisis, when the rates for gas went really high, I saw the need as a business person to be able to put solar panels on my roof and to be able to supply a good portion of my electric needs and heating needs so that I can count on that portion of our expenses being covered. So the community choice will give us a number of options that it will give us a higher percentage of renewable energy in our represented by our electricity, and it will give us lower prices, and it will give us, if you imagine this, a big pot of money that we have some access to work on projects that make sense in our community, to expand solar energy on the roofs, which decreases the heating load on the roof, protects the roof so that it'll last longer, a number of side benefits there, versus electricity that's produced over there and shipped over here, and we lose about 40% in the transmission, so that we get basically a 40% bonus on the local electricity. And it gives us the ability to work on a number of projects that we decide are important. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehurst. Jan Dietrich.
So I'm going to wrap up. Hi, Mayor Adam, and thank you for hearing a little bit from us about community choice energy. I wanted to add to our presentation tonight that several of us have been studying this. I learned about it in January in a guest editorial in the Star, and I wondered why aren't we doing this here? And I'm from West Ventura, so Supervisor Bennett is my supervisor. Eventually, we were able to meet, and we removed some of the misconceptions that he had about how it's working now in the Marin and Sonoma counties. And we were encouraged to go forth, and I attended the May 18th forum, and that was held by the County of Los Angeles. That was a whole day of educating city leaders throughout Southern California. And I was very impressed with the CEOs from Sonoma Clean Power and Marin Clean Energy, their procurement officers, the financial experts that helped them put it together and get going, and the energy suppliers telling us that the energy market could not be better than now, and to get ourselves in gear. I would say that, you know, I've actually watched the TED Talk where Chuck Rogers and Mark Watkins talked about the sewage treatment plant and the energy generation that you have here in the city. And you have a lot of great projects, sustainable projects, and this seems like a perfect fit for your city. And I think you could look to this leadership from the city of Lancaster. They set a number of years ago to be a net zero energy city. And the city council did not wait to form an aggregation with any surrounding city. They just set up to procure their own energy. They promised every ratepayer 3% less on their bills, and a continuingly high proportion of renewables with a goal of 100%. So I think that, because the chief benefits are the cost savings in Sonoma County, $1 million a month net income, and local control over appropriate energy for our region, and local energy security that Ron was saying, every resident in the county ought to be in favor of this. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Dietrich. Thank you, speakers. I have 3 written statement cards that we will enter into the record. And Mr. Mitnick, do you have some follow-up for us?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll follow up on 2 items. First, we appreciate the enthusiasm for the speakers that came down on community choice. Jay Spurgeon, our Public Works Director, will gladly follow up accordingly and see what we can do together. This city council and this city organization has embraced concepts like this for quite some time, so it fits in nicely with the city council's top priorities and goals and objectives for the upcoming year. We also heard about the Drought Expo that's coming up on, I'm going to do a little plug, on June 27th. It is a joint effort with our assembly member and the city of Thousand Oaks. So that's Saturday, June 27th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can go to the city's website and get more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitnick. Yes, Ms. Bilda-Lupena.
Mr. Mitnick, will you also be able to follow up with the lady and her son who spoke regarding allegations of racism?
Yes, we'll work with the police department accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let us move on to the consent calendar. Any items to be pulled, Ms. Bilda-Lupena?
Item E, please, 7E.
7E. All right, we're going to pull 7E, and I do have some speaker cards that we'll get to first. First up, we have Dr. John Sand from Caney Valley Unified School District. Hello, John.
Good evening. Longtime resident of Thousand Oaks and admirer of our city and staff. Mayor Adam, council members, City Manager Mitnick, and city staff, community members, we at the Caney Valley Unified School District enjoy a long-lasting relationship in terms of student safety, community awareness, and in particular tonight's item, crossing guards. We understand the process. We understand and appreciate the city's ability to have a less restrictive threshold for permitting and providing crossing guards at the same than the state would. In addition to that, we very much appreciate the outreach and efforts by Jay Spurgeon and Kathy Lowry in really meeting the needs and discussing even potential crossing guard situations when parents and community members bring it to our attention. Earlier this year, we were notified of a traffic commission evaluation of 4 particular locations. One is in an unincorporated area. That matter has been resolved, and there are strategies in place. 3 of the other locations had to do with the fact that the thresholds and the pedestrian and vehicle traffic did not meet those less restrictive requirements. At the Transportation Committee meeting, 2 of those locations were eliminated from consideration, and at the time, each of our schools that were subject, and in fact, for the purposes of tonight, Maple Elementary's principal was contacted and asked to communicate through school site council, all-call systems, and other ways to make sure that staff and parents and students know that this is an agendized item. At the time of the Traffic Commission, there were no responses, none whatsoever, as reported by the office manager and Dr. Santos. Prior to this evening, I did actually speak with Mr. Santos. He had mentioned that a parent was generating a petition, and about 2 hours ago, I learned that there were 60 names on that petition. So we appreciate the concern, we appreciate the opportunity to get out in front of this, and we appreciate your sensitivity in listening to the needs of our parent community and our students and their safety. And I'll be here remaining for questions should you have any.
Thank you, Dr. Sand.
Thank you.
Nick Kidwai, followed by Joshua Salty.
Nick Kidwai, Director, Concerned Citizens, Thousand Oaks. I would like to speak on, it's not just E that we're talking, and just consent calendar. Number D, website design, $108,000. I don't know how much we spend right now, but the city's website is not even responsive. I mean, you can get a $200 website and you on a tablet, you can play with it. And the same thing goes on iPhone. So, I mean, I hope that this time we will spend our tax dollars wisely. I did not attend the Traffic Commission meeting, but I watched it on my laptop. The counts of warrants, the reason staff has them is at such low numbers. If staff can, TOTV can show my picture, that's a reason to not count the kid. Can you believe that? Cookie Monster. I mean, that scares crossing guards. So she was not counted. This one over here, she's trying to scare the people. I mean, that's the problem with kids nowadays. So that's why the counts are so low. You can't count these two girls because there are two of them. One of them is preschool, so we don't count preschool people because they're not going to the. And then we won't count the other one because you have. In fact, that's Dr. Ron De La Pina product, the other girl. So maybe that's the reason to not count. Just on the same consent calendar, there is $12,227 that the city is giving to make the boulevard like Wilshire Boulevard, Thousand Oaks Boulevard. $12,227. And staff says this is not about money. It is darn right about money. Like somebody said yesterday, do you care more about the matrix system or do you care about our children? I mean, even if you vote this change, and in '94 I was involved with crossing guards being cut. This happens all the time, and then you become heroes by instigating it again. For God's sake, do the right thing and do it without a lot of bullying from the citizens over here. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Kidwai. Joshua Saltee, followed by Bridget Rossin.
Mr. Mayor, City Council.
Hello, Josh.
Thank you for hearing me. My name is Joshua Saltee. I live and work within city limits. I've been a resident of the area for about 7 years. I'm a sales manager at Dole Packaged Foods in Thousand Oaks, and I'm also a member of the Thousand Oaks Business Roundtable. I have followed this issue for only a couple months now. I wanted to attend the May 20th Traffic and Transportation meeting, but I couldn't make it. I did have my email forwarded through a friend. The next evening, I watched the meeting on TOTV on the website, and I agree 100% with the public's comments and how Commissioner Angie Simpson voted that evening, and that was a vote to keep all crossing guards at all locations. I'm not comfortable with the report and how it uses statistics to justify a cost-saving initiative with regard to our children's safety. This is absolutely not how we should be looking at this. Page 2, Table 1 of the report shows crossing guard standards at the city and state level. Table 2 shows that at 3 locations in question, the pedestrian volume is far underneath the city and state standards. Since the average annual cost per guard is $7,000, the cost per child to have a crossing guard is too high of a dollar amount to justify it. And so now we're putting a dollar amount on our kids' safety. We're better than this. The city's better than this. As a taxpayer and voter, I firmly believe that if we have one child crossing the streets, we owe that child a crossing guard, and especially at the intersections where there's always been one. We still need the human interaction, eyes, ears, and wisdom from the older crossing guards for the kids, since they're still there crossing the street. It only takes one speeding, distracted bad driver to have an awful community tragedy, and then what? We save a couple grand? Texting and driving is an epidemic, and it's getting worse. The other day, I was leaving Home Depot with my wife, and she points to the car next to us, and she goes, "This young man is FaceTiming his girlfriend while driving." So not only was he breaking the law that says you can't hold the phone up, he was looking at his girlfriend as he drove up Wendy. It's an epidemic, and it's awful. I mean, if you guys have to have noticed yourself. I do not think that discontinuing the crossing guard services is in alignment with the city's goals or guiding principles. If we look at the City of TO citywide goals for fiscal year 2014 and 2015, bullet point C says maintain a strong commitment to public safety to ensure the city remains one of the safest cities in the United States with population over 100,000. Bullet point I speaks to developing Teal Boulevard and Newbury Road into a pedestrian-friendly downtown area. Well, eventually we're going to want to roll that out to the rest of the city, so this would be in opposition to that. If we look at the top 10 guiding principles from the Visioning 2064 program, which I really liked, by the way. I wanted to do it every week, but I was told no. The second bullet point is foster an environment that allows students to pursue academic excellence in a safe, healthy, and crime-free atmosphere. That's a second bullet point. The third is strive to maintain a strong quality of life, including public safety, education, cultural affairs, health care, open space, and recreation. Those are the top two themes. So the two themes here are a strong quality of life and a strong commitment to public safety. That's who we are in the city of Thousand Oaks. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Salty. Bridget Rossin, followed by Anthony Rossin. Evening,
Thank
Bridget.
you, Mayor and members of the council and staff. I have the petition with me that we started, and we just started it yesterday, and we actually have 106 signatures. And I don't know if anybody faxed over the others earlier today. My daughter and my husband helped us get signatures yesterday, and we met with the cars driving up and students, and a couple students even signed. They don't know how to even sign their signature, so they just put student next to it. As concerns parents of students at Maple Elementary, we were disappointed to find out that they were talking about getting rid of our crossing guard at Kimber and Baxter. I don't know if anybody's been in that area, but it's a very fast street. They have a signal now. It's not a regular signal to push a button to cross, but even cars are not stopping then. They're stopping at the last moment. You know, kids are waiting for the crossing guard. They're learning the responsibility of crossing a street. My daughter's 10, and she still thinks that she could, not get hit by a car, that it's not going to happen to her. And if she did, she would just jump over it. And we're trying to teach our kids responsibility at that level. We did get this uncontrolled signal, and the crossing guard has still been very helpful, making everybody stop. Even when my husband and I cross, she makes us wait for her and does the right thing every day. Maple Elementary is a smaller school in terms of number of students. I think we have about, the last I heard was about 312 students. Of that, 100 are bused in, so we have about 212 with the capability of walking to school. And the data that they collected were saying, I know we need to meet the quota of 20 kids to cross, as well as 300 cars, which we have met the quota of 300 cars, almost double at times in that area. The 11 to 13 kids are in the morning and the afternoon crossing. I know it doesn't seem like a large number, but when you compare the average number of kids crossing with that small of a school, the percentage is very high. It's about, looking at my math here, it leaves about 212 kids that would walk to school, averaging about 12 kids, taking the average of the 11 and 13. It's about 6% crossing. This doesn't include parents or residents in the area that cross in the mornings and the afternoons. There's another school in the area with about 541 students. I don't know how many of those kids are bused, but taking that average of 12, that's only 2% of their students crossing. So we have 3 times as many potential students just because we have a smaller school, but we have a much bigger street to cross than all those other kids. Right now, the speed limit indicators, we've had those on a couple of occasions. I've rarely seen police out there signing tickets to people speeding. I've been given hand signals when I've turned one time in front of somebody, and they had plenty of room, but they were speeding, so they got close to my car and weren't happy. They had to slow down. I know the cost. When I've researched it, there's about $6,000 to pay for the crossing guard, which I think is a small price to pay for our students' safety and lives. I keep thinking ahead of any tragedy that has occurred. Sorry. And the response after a tragedy is what we could have done to stop it from happening. And I think we have the ability to do that with this.
Thank you, Ms. Rossin. Anthony Rossin, followed by Kyle McIntosh.
Good evening, and thank you for having me and us that are in support of keeping the crossing guards. I just wanted to sum up. I'll be very brief. To me, there really isn't a conversation that needs to be had here. Children's safety, crossing guards, it's very simple in my mind. So not to beat a dead horse, but it doesn't matter if it's one child or 15, 20, 25, if it's a high volume street or it's something that's tucked away in a neighborhood. Every child should have that crossing guard be safe, and the parents shouldn't have to worry. A lot of times parents are still walking their children to school at the elementary level, but there are some kids that are going solo. Just the other day I saw 3 little girls walking down our street going to school, and they were without parents. So they need that safety, and I will say, especially for Maple Elementary and Baxter and Kimber, it is quite a street, and in the mornings they do have that sunlight coming in from the sun coming up for the day. So once again, I don't think that this is a real conversation. I think we should look at our children's safety, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Rawson. Kyle McIntosh. Evening, Kyle.
Good evening. Thanks for your time. It's great to see all these faces after reading about you guys in the Acorn all the time. I'm here for the crossing guard situation as well. My son is a 2nd grader at Maple. We live in the neighborhood just across Kimber, so every morning I cross over Kimber myself and drop my son off. So I'm a driver, seeing the traffic conditions. In the afternoon, my son is one of the 13 or 11 kids, I forget which it is in the afternoon versus the morning, but he's one of the kids who's crossing in the afternoon. He's 7 years old. I think if there's one thing to take away, and I think a few other people have mentioned it, that the traffic conditions were not adequately described. I'm not even sure how well they were described at all in the report. The speed limit on that road is 40, and there is a sign that says 25 when children are present. Rarely do you see cars going 25 in that area in the mornings. It's much more often that you'd see a car going over 40 than you would see a car going 25. Just last Friday morning, a BMW, obviously using Kimber as a throughfare in the morning to get to the 101, to cut over to Wendy and then go down Borchard, was late or distracted or something, angry, driving very, very fast. And you see that all the time. That's not an exception. The other thing is that right around drop-off time, there are lots of parents who are dropping their kids off, and for those of you who know the area, the Maple turn-in is right there next to the crosswalk, and so sometimes you even have cars backed up onto the crosswalk. Bottom line, it's just not a safe traffic area where I would want my son crossing on his own, and trusting drivers to stop, even in the, even with the neon signs and that sort of thing. Just wouldn't trust it. I talked to the crossing guard on May 29th. I picked my son up early. What she said to me, she said a couple things to me. She said, cars oftentimes don't stop for her, so why are they going to stop for the kids? That was one of the things she said. And when I asked her, why do you think it is they don't stop? She says that a lot of times she thinks it's back to, I forget which gentleman was saying it, but it goes back to the distracted driving, that oftentimes they aren't even looking up, that they don't see her until they're past her or parallel with her. So that's a further thing that I wanted to bring to your attention. I guess one final thing, we're talking about, I think it's $7,200 over the course of 180 days. We're talking about $40 a day here. $40 a day to keep these 20 to 30 kids safe. I think as a taxpayer in this city, as a resident for 11 years, as a finance director at Amgen, a company that has a lot of employees in Thousand Oaks, I feel like that is a pretty good use of our taxpayer money, $40 a day to protect these kids from a fairly chaotic traffic situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. All right, that concludes our speakers, and we've pulled 7E. Can I get a motion on the balance of the consent calendar? Mr. Fox?
Sure, I'll move the balance of the consent calendar.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Please vote.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Ms. Biddle-DePena, 7E.
Thank you. The reason I pull the item is obviously it is controversial and many parents are unhappy. I wanted to, when I read the report, I thought I saw some discrepancies. We have a school such as Walnut, which seems to meet the threshold, yet it's not being financed because it is an unincorporated area, even though children from the city go to Walnut. So that was one thing. And then the others, I couldn't quite understand why some crossing guards would be kept and others not, when none of them really meets the threshold. So And then, of course, the issue of money was brought up. $180,000 it costs to have crossing guards at our public schools during the year. And that is not small change. That is a lot of money. Why? Can you explain to me what decision was made on Walnut and why?
Yes. The school site safety committee met out at that school. That included the principal, representatives from the county, police department, and traffic commissioners as well. And one of the discussion items at that meeting was that the county is actually going to be implementing some additional mitigation measures at that crossing to include some additional striping. They discussed bulb outs, some different things. And so what the school site safety committee decided to do was to wait, because these numbers didn't meet all the pedestrian things, to wait until those mitigation measures were implemented, and then watch the intersection, watch the crossing, and see how it responded. So I expect this to come back in the future.
Okay, and those mitigation measures could not be implemented at the other schools?
Well, that was specifically for that site on that street. They'd actually done a study for that street, and they had added additional signage, but had not completed the other mitigation measures. So
I'm just wondering whether the same theory and plan could be applied to other schools.
Yes, and in fact, at this intersection at Kimber-Baxter, over the last couple of years, we've installed the flashing crosswalk lights at that location, which is an example of a mitigation applied at an intersection.
And how successful has it been, if at all?
Well, we hope that when people push the button, they become a little more aware that somebody is crossing. We have measured speed, and the speed through that area during non-school hours is roughly the same as it was before. Again, other than information from the crossing guard, and we haven't observed a real big change. But those lights, they have advanced warning lights. I mean, they've got to be effective to some respect. I assume the crossing guard is using them as well.
And this proposal is for 1 year?
Yes, that is correct.
Do we know how other cities and school districts in Ventura County deal with funding crossing guards? Is there a 50-50 split between districts and cities? Do school districts finance 100% of crossing guards? What do we know?
We have asked our other sister cities in the county, and it is a real mix. Some of the cities, example, Port Hueneme, shares in that cost with the school district. Some of the other cities actually pay the whole amount, but the school district provides the program. And others are similar to Thousand Oaks, where the police department, well, in this case it's a city, but in other jurisdictions the police department does it. But it's a real mixed bag throughout the county.
Have we ever seriously thought at looking how to fund it differently?
We have had discussions, and we hope to have more discussions in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Price.
Thank you. I certainly agree with the speakers who were commenting on the safety of children. That obviously is paramount. But at the same time, every dollar counts when you're running a city government. I had some questions of staff, and I know that when we first initiated bulb outs at certain locations, there was a tremendous pushback from some of the residents. Was that one of the intersections where it was even contemplated?
No, it was not, and the primary reason is the width of the roadway is actually not as wide as some of our other locations.
It's not?
Well, it's not as wide. It's one lane in each direction. Some of the locations where we installed bulb outs actually were a little wider with a center median or a wider turn lane and some other attributes.
So would this not fit the criteria for bulb outs then?
No, it could. It could. When we did that bulb out project, there was quite a bit of community discussion on whether or not they were necessary and effective. So This particular intersection just did not happen to include that design feature.
Okay. This discussion is really not about the money as much as it is about the safety. And I think that as policymakers, we have to make decisions and we have to have guidelines and standards because there's always the unintended consequence of allowing something to remain that doesn't meet the criteria, that you will then have other schools wanting to be treated similarly. So a $180,000 budget, while it may appear to be a small number, some of you in the audience, can certainly grow if we allow the rules to be bent all the time. So we're trying to work on solutions all the time, and I think Councilmember Bill De La Pena touched on one that, as I read the report, I thought about, and that is, traditionally the city has borne the cost of these crossing guards, and with declining revenues for cities, and it's not necessarily something that the city, as we've heard from Mr. Finley here, is responsible to provide, and that maybe there's some way we can, and I guess this would be kind of for staff, but perhaps engage the school district in some discussions about sharing, cost sharings for this, and maybe it's time to take a look at our thresholds again. Although I don't think they would necessarily change. One of the other things that I looked at is that there's a chart on table 3 where it shows the declining pedestrian counts at each one of the schools, and a lot of that is indicative of declining school enrollments at CVUSD. So there's just a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration when we're dealing with subjects like this. So while I see the signatures that you've gathered, you've done a great job of going out there and engaging in the process, and I would not be in favor at this point of discontinuing service at any of these. I know that staff's recommendation to the Traffic Commission was that all 3 of these locations be eliminated, but that's because staff has to work with the guidelines that we've given them, and staff did their job in so doing and making that recommendation. We have a little more flexibility, as does the Traffic and Transportation Commission, and they can make recommendations that might be a little bit outside of the lines, but we certainly have the authority to do that, and I would be in favor of approving this at this point, but I think we need to look at alternatives going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Mr. Fox.
While the report lays out the counts, it is contradictory in its conclusions based on what the Traffic Commission did. That being said, if council's aware, I always caution the council to be very thoughtful about going against a commission report that comes to the city council. All of us are well aware, in particular the Traffic Commission and the Planning Commission, they do great work when it comes to a lot of detailed information. And so, I'm always hesitant to change or alter a report that comes from one of our commissions. That being said, there are schools that are being recommended that don't meet the criteria either. And so, as Mr. Price points out, and Ms. Bill De La Pena also, that's why there's human beings up here and not just somebody reading a chart. One thing I can share with everybody, and I know Mr. Price recognizes this, the incidence of a pedestrian getting hit by a car, that does happen. But if there's an adult with a sign, the likelihood is a lot less. There's just no doubt about it. It does provide a margin of safety that truly is measurable. That being said, I do agree that I think the council needs to decide, are we going to be in the crossing guard business or not? I think we need to look at this in its entirety. I would not support eliminating a crossing guard on a piecemeal basis.